The ghost of humanity returns. The stars glittered like scattered diamonds against the void as the Harbinger drifted silently toward the border of Valerian space. The massive warship's hull, scarred, battle-worn, and unmistakably human in design, reflected no light. Its systems ran in silent mode, but Captain Elena Reyes wasn't hiding. She wanted them to see her coming. "Border crossing in 60 seconds," announced the ship's AI, its voice a calm counterpoint to the tension filling the bridge. Elena stood alone at the command console. No crews surrounded her, just empty stations and the ghosts of memories. Her dark eyes fixed on the main view screen, watching as the invisible line that marked Valerian territory grew closer. The empire that had watched Earth burn, that had blockaded human colonies and stripped them bare while humanity tore itself apart. "Time to remind them we're not extinct," she whispered, running her fingers over the worn photograph tucked beside her console. Her family, smiling on a green Earth that no longer existed. The Harbinger wasn't a sleek vessel like those the Valerians built. It was a brutal machine of war, all sharp angles and reinforced armor plating. The last true warship built by Earth's military before the fall. It wasn't pretty. It was a threat made physical. As the ship crossed the border, sensors across the Valerian defense network lit up like festival lights. Automated warnings flashed, defense satellites pivoted, and alarm protocols initiated. "Unidentified warship, halt immediately and identify. You have entered restricted Imperial space," came the automated response. Elena didn't answer. She simply leaned back in her command chair and waited. The Harbinger continued its slow, deliberate advance. No evasive maneuvers, no attempt to hide. It moved like a predator sure of its kill. Across Valerian space, the response escalated rapidly. Emergency protocols initiated at a dozen border stations. Fleet commanders were yanked from sleep cycles. A senior admiral viewing the ship's profile turned ashen. He recognized the design. "The Harbinger," he whispered to his subordinates. "A human warship. Earth-built." His second-in-command scoffed. "Impossible. The humans destroyed themselves decades ago." "Then explain that," the admiral said, pointing to the screen where the unmistakable silhouette of the Harbinger continued its advance. "That ship participated in the Battle of Proxima Centauri. It destroyed 3 of our cruisers before vanishing. We thought it lost with the rest of humanity." On the Harbinger's bridge, Elena watched the chaos unfold through intercepted communications. The Valerians were scrambling, uncertain how to respond to a ghost from their past. Fear had a scent, and it was radiating from every transmission she monitored. "Targeting arrays online," the AI announced. "Weapon systems at full capacity." Elena nodded. "Target the nearest monitoring station. Limited yield. I want them to know this isn't a malfunction." The Harbinger's main batteries hummed to life. A single pulse of energy, brilliant blue against the darkness, lanced outward. The monitoring station erupted in a flash, its debris spinning silently into the void. "Message sent," Elena said. Communication channels exploded with panicked reports. This wasn't just an incursion, it was an attack. The empire that had grown complacent in humanity's absence suddenly faced its nightmare, the return of the species they'd helped destroy. In the imperial capital on Volaris Prime, Supreme Admiral Kareth Dovin received the news with uncharacteristic silence. He dismissed his aides, locked his office, and activated a secure terminal. His gnarled hands trembled slightly as he accessed files that hadn't been opened in 20 years. The screen filled with images of Earth's last days, orbital bombardments, nuclear exchanges, the collapse of the Sol system's civilization. He paused on an image of the Harbinger, taken during the final human offensive before their collapse. "How?" he whispered. "How did they survive?" Elena didn't know about Dovin's fear. She only knew her mission. Retribution for Earth, for her family, for a species betrayed by supposed allies. The Harbinger accelerated deeper into Valerian space, its course set for a primary defensive installation. 3 Valerian patrol cruisers moved to intercept, their sleek forms cutting through space with practiced precision. Standard containment formation, exactly as training dictated for unknown threats. Predictable, Alina muttered. Same tactics they used at Taw City. She adjusted the Harbinger's course slightly, not retreating, but positioning. The massive ship groaned as it turned, exposing its broadside to the approaching cruisers. Targeting solution acquired, the AI confirmed. Fire when ready. The Harbinger unleashed a barrage that lit up space like a newborn star. Railgun projectiles traveling at impossible speeds tore through the lead cruiser's shields. The vessel didn't explode. It simply came apart, sheared into pieces that tumbled silently through the void. The remaining cruisers broke formation, attempting evasive maneuvers, but the Harbinger's targeting systems had evolved during its long journey. Machine learning algorithms had spent decades perfecting combat solutions. Countermeasures launched, filling space with a cloud of micro-projectiles that found the cruisers despite their defensive measures. In minutes, 3 of the Empire's finest ships were reduced to drifting debris. The Harbinger continued its advance, unscathed. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, the AI warned. Capital ships inbound. Alina had expected this. The Empire wouldn't let an aggressor penetrate this far without a significant response. She adjusted course again, heading toward a dense asteroid field, perfect for the next phase of her plan. As the Harbinger disappeared among the tumbling rocks, Imperial Command struggled to coordinate their response. Reports flooded in, conflicting, panicked, and confused. Some claimed multiple human ships had been detected. Others insisted it was an unknown species using stolen human technology. The truth was simpler and more terrifying. Humanity had returned, carrying 20 years of accumulated rage. Inside the asteroid field, Alina activated a series of devices the Harbinger had deployed during its silent approach to Valerian space. Quantum beacons began pulsing, creating false sensor readings that suggested the Harbinger was in multiple locations simultaneously. "Begin broadcast," she ordered. Across Valerian communication channels, her message played. Simple, direct, and chilling. To the Valerian Empire, you watched Earth burn. You blockaded our colonies. You stripped our outposts. You celebrated our extinction. But humanity isn't dead. We've been waiting. We've been planning. And now, we've returned. This is Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth Warship Harbinger. Your reckoning has arrived. The message repeated on all frequencies, impossible to block or ignore. In palaces and military installations across the Empire, Valerians listened with mounting dread. Supreme Admiral Dovin ordered his private shuttle prepared. Some instinct told him he needed to take personal command of this situation before it escalated further, before certain truths came to light. On the imperial frontier world of Caddis II, Lieutenant Commander Tarek listened to the human message with a very different reaction. He quickly entered his private quarters and activated a heavily encrypted communication device, technology not of Valerian design. "Control, this is Sentinel. Message authenticated. The Harbinger has returned. Operation Phoenix is active. Repeat, Phoenix is active." The response came moments later. "Understood. Sentinel. Make contact with the Harbinger. Authorization code. Earth endures." Tarek exhaled slowly. After 20 years of deep cover, the waiting was finally over. The resistance movement, Valerians who had opposed their government's treatment of humanity, who had worked in secret to preserve what little remained of human culture and knowledge, was about to make its move. While the Empire scrambled to contain a single human warship, they remained oblivious to the enemy within. Those who believed the Empire's betrayal of humanity had been not just a moral failure, but the beginning of their own eventual downfall. As Alina guided the Harbinger through the asteroid field, avoiding the gathering Imperial fleet, a transmission reached her on a frequency that hadn't been used since Earth fell. A human emergency channel. "Harbinger, this is Sentinel. Authentication code. Earth endures. Request secure communication. We've been waiting for you. Elena stared at the console in disbelief. The code was genuine, one of the last created before Earth's final collapse. But it was coming from a Valerian world. Who are you? She demanded, keeping the channel narrowly focused to avoid detection. Friends, came the reply. Valerians who never wanted Earth to fall. We have information you need. About Supreme Admiral Dovin, about what really happened to Earth, and about the human colonies that survived. Elena's heart stuttered. Survivors. Where? Not over this channel. Meet us at these coordinates. Come alone, or as alone as a dreadnought can be. The Empire doesn't know we exist, and we'd like to keep it that way. The coordinates led to an abandoned mining outpost in the asteroid field, easily defensible, difficult to approach undetected. Perfect for a meeting that could change everything. Elena had come seeking vengeance for a dead species. Now she faced the possibility that humanity's story wasn't over, merely entering its next chapter. The Harbinger adjusted course, its massive engines propelling it deeper into the heart of the Empire's territory. On the Imperial capital, Supreme Admiral Dovin boarded his command ship with a contingent of elite guards. His orders were explicit. The human vessel was to be destroyed at any cost, along with any evidence of its origins. Some secrets needed to remain buried, especially the truth about Earth's final days. But as his ship prepared to depart, he received the news that raised his urgency to panic. The Harbinger had changed course. It was heading directly toward a sector that contained one of the Empire's most closely guarded facilities, a research station where the Empire had kept its most valuable salvage from the human worlds. The game had changed. The hunt was on. And the ghost of humanity was about to discover it wasn't as alone as it had believed. The Empire's buried truths. The abandoned mining outpost loomed against the backdrop of a sulfurous gas giant, its structure half buried in a massive asteroid. Elena guided the Harbinger into a concealed docking bay, a tight fit for the massive warship, but manageable with the AI's precision control. Run continuous scans, she ordered the AI as she sealed her environment suit. Any approach larger than a shuttle, initiate defensive protocols. Understood, Captain, the AI responded. Be advised. Scans detect 12 life forms within the outpost. Biometric readings indicate Valerian physiology with anomalies. Elena checked her sidearm, an ancient pulse pistol that had survived Earth's fall alongside her. Define anomalies. Implant signatures inconsistent with standard Imperial configurations, possibly modified or non-military tech. She nodded, unsurprised. Anyone operating outside Imperial authority would avoid standard implants. They were as good as tracking devices. The airlock cycled, and Elena stepped into the outpost's main concourse, a cavernous space once used for ore processing, now repurposed with mismatched equipment and hastily constructed barriers. Signs in both Valerian and human English marked different sections. A tall Valerian stepped forward from the shadows. Unlike most of his species, he lacked the ornate uniform or implant scars that marked Imperial citizens. His skin held the pale blue tint of those born on frontier worlds, rather than the deeper azure of the core systems. Captain Reyes, he said, his translator rendering his words in crisp English. I am Tarek. Welcome to Sentinel Base. Elena kept her weapon lowered but ready. You said you had information about human survivors. Tarek nodded. Direct and focused, exactly as the historical records described human military commanders. He gestured toward a doorway. Please, this way. There's someone you should meet first. Elena followed, hyper-aware of the other Valerians watching from doorways and upper levels. None were visibly armed, but that meant little. The Valerians had always excelled at concealing weapons within their own biology. They entered what appeared to be a command center. Star charts and tactical displays covered the walls, along with something that made Elena pause. Photographs of Earth. Not the burning husk of its final days, but Earth as it had been. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in its atmosphere. Where did you get these? she demanded. From me, came a voice from the far side of the room. Elena turned, her weapon instinctively rising. Then she froze. The figure that emerged from the shadows wasn't Valerian. It was human. An elderly man with dark skin creased by age and hardship, walking with the assistance of a cane fashioned from what looked like salvaged ship components. Admiral Chen, she whispered, lowering her weapon in shock. James Chen, once the highest-ranking officer in Earth's Unified Space Command, nodded slowly. Captain Rice, you've grown since I last saw you. You were just a lieutenant then. You died, Elena said flatly. When the Jupiter defense platform fell, everyone saw it. Chen's laugh was dry, almost brittle. The Empire saw what they were meant to see, just as they believed all of humanity perished. He gestured to the room around them. 20 years I've been building this network. 20 years preparing for a moment I wasn't sure would ever come. Elena's mind raced to process this revelation. Admiral Chen alive. A network of Valerian dissidents. The implications were staggering. How many survivors? She asked, almost afraid of the answer. 11 colonies, Chen replied. Hidden in regions the Empire considers uninhabitable or worthless. Nearly 3 million humans, Captain. We survived. The number hit Elena like a physical blow. She had believed herself one of the last, perhaps even the very last, human alive. To learn that millions had survived, had been rebuilding while she planned her solitary revenge. Why now? She asked. Why reveal yourselves when I've already started a war? Tarek stepped forward. Because you've created the perfect diversion. The entire Imperial fleet is focused on the Harbinger. They're too busy looking at the wolf at their door to notice the vipers in their nest. Chen nodded. The Resistance has operatives throughout the Empire. Valerians who never agreed with their government's decision to abandon Earth during its final crisis. For years, we've been gathering intelligence, sabotaging key installations, and preparing for the moment when we could strike a decisive blow. What blow? Chen and Tarek exchanged glances. The truth, Chen said finally, about what really happened to Earth. He activated a display at the center of the room. Images appeared, classified Imperial communications, military orders, weapons schematics. Earth wasn't just abandoned by the Empire during our internal conflicts. Chen explained, his voice hardening. The civil war that destroyed us was engineered by Imperial intelligence. They infiltrated both sides, escalated tensions, and provided weapons technology to ensure mutual destruction. Elena stared at the evidence before her. Why? We were never a threat to them. But we would have been, Tarek interjected. Human adaptability, your species' drive to explore and expand. Our leaders saw your potential before you fully realized it yourselves. The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years by eliminating competition before it emerges. Chen continued. Supreme Admiral Dovin personally oversaw the operation. He ordered the blockade that prevented external aid from reaching Earth. His ships intercepted our distress calls to other species, and when the final strikes began, his fleet prevented evacuation ships from escaping the Sol system. Elena's hands clenched into fists. She had come seeking vengeance for abandonment, for callous indifference to human suffering. But this was genocide. Planned, executed, and then hidden from history. What's your plan? She asked, her voice deadly calm. Dovin is en route to personally oversee your destruction, Tarek said, checking a data terminal. He's bringing the Imperial flagship and a battle group. For the first time in decades, he's left the capital vulnerable. Chen pointed to another section of the star chart. Meanwhile, we've activated our cells across the Empire. In 6 hours, they'll begin simultaneously broadcasting the evidence of what really happened to Earth, to every world, every station, every ship in the Empire. The Valerian people believe humanity destroyed itself, Tarek added, when they learned their leaders engineered the extinction of an entire species for political gain. He left the sentence unfinished, but the implication was clear. Revolution, Elena concluded. Chen nodded grimly. The Empire has grown corrupt. Many species suffer under its rule. Humanity was just the most recent example, and perhaps the most efficiently erased, until now. And my role in this? Elena asked. Keep Dovin occupied, Chen replied. The Harbinger is the perfect distraction, a nightmare from the past he thought safely buried. While he hunts you, we strike at the heart of his power. Elena considered the plan. It was audacious, perhaps even suicidal, but it offered something her original mission lacked: the possibility of justice rather than mere revenge, and the revelation that humanity wasn't consigned to extinction. There's more, Tarek said, sensing her hesitation. Show her. Admiral. Chen activated another display. It showed a massive space station, unlike anything Elena had seen in Imperial design. It orbited a small moon in a remote system. Salvation Station, Chen explained. Built in secret using resources diverted from Imperial projects. It's where we've gathered human survivors, coordinated resistance activities, and, he paused, rebuilt what we could salvage of Earth's culture, history, and knowledge. The display shifted to show the interior. Vast habitation rings where humans lived, worked, and most surprisingly thrived. Children played in artificial parks. Schools operated. Gardens grew food from Earth seeds preserved through the catastrophe. We didn't just survive, Captain, Chen said softly. We remembered. We preserved what makes us human. Elena felt a tightness in her throat she hadn't experienced in years. All this time, I thought I was the last. Now you know you're not, Chen said. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Elena straightened, decision made. I'll engage Dovin's fleet. Keep him focused on the Harbinger while your operation proceeds. Chen nodded approvingly. Just like the Harbinger, you were built for war, Captain. But remember, this mission isn't just about destruction. It's about ensuring humanity has a future. As Elena prepared to return to her ship, Tarek provided tactical data on Dovin's approaching fleet, ship configurations, officer profiles, likely strategies. 20 years of intelligence work delivered in minutes. One more thing, Chen said it as she reached the doorway. He handed her a small data crystal. When the time comes, when you face Dovin, broadcast this on all Imperial frequencies. It's a message I've waited 20 years to deliver. Elena took it without question. Whatever grudges or history existed between these two men, she wouldn't interfere. Back aboard the Harbinger, Elena set course for an intercept with Dovin's approaching fleet. The massive ship hummed to life, weapon systems charged, defenses at maximum. No more silent running. This would be a direct confrontation. Approaching Imperial battle group, the AI announced several hours later. 12 capital ships, 34 support vessels. Fleet formation indicates defensive posture around central command vessel. The view screen displayed the Imperial Armada, sleek, gleaming ships arranged in perfect formation. At their center, the Imperial flagship Dominion, twice the size of the Harbinger and bristling with weapons. Open a channel, Elena ordered. All frequencies. The AI complied. Elena stood tall on her bridge, alone but unafraid. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth Warship Harbinger. I am here to speak with Supreme Admiral Dovin. The response came quickly, a visual transmission showing a Valerian male with the deep blue skin of the core worlds. His uniform gleamed with medals and insignia of rank. His eyes, however, held something Elena recognized immediately, fear disguised as contempt. The last human, Dovin said, his translated voice carrying artificial calm. You've caused quite a disturbance in my empire, Captain. Not your empire for much longer, Elena replied. I know what you did to Earth, the sabotage, the engineered conflict, the blockade that prevented evacuation. Dovin's expression flickered, surprise quickly masked. Interesting theories from a species that destroyed itself through its own violent nature. Not theories. Facts. Elena inserted Chen's data crystal into her console. Facts that are being broadcast across your empire as we speak. Dovin's composure cracked. He barked orders to someone off-screen, demanding communication blackouts and containment protocols. Too late, Elena said. The truth is already spreading. Your own people are learning what kind of leader you truly are. She activated the crystal's contents. Chen's face appeared on all Imperial channels, older, weathered, but unmistakably the legendary admiral of Earth's final days. He spoke directly to the Imperial citizens, presenting evidence of their government's genocide, explaining how human civilization had been intentionally destroyed. Dovin's rage erupted. Destroy that ship. All vessels, open fire. The Imperial fleet surged forward, weapon systems activating in unison. But the Harbinger was already moving, not retreating, but executing a complex attack pattern Elena had spent 20 years perfecting. The battle that followed would be recorded in Imperial histories as the massacre at Kepler's Void. The Harbinger, despite being outnumbered 46-1, moved with impossible precision. Its weapons found critical weaknesses in Imperial defenses. Its targeting systems neutralized key vessels within moments of engagement. The Harbinger wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's last officially sanctioned weapon, designed to fight against overwhelming odds, crewed by an AI that had spent decades learning from every recorded space battle in history. 7 Imperial capital ships fell in the first wave of combat. Support vessels scattered, their formation broken by the Harbinger's unexpected attack vectors. The Dominion pulled back, protected by its remaining escorts. Direct hit to our port shield array. The AI reported as the Harbinger shuddered under concentrated fire. Rerouting power. Hull integrity at 82%. Elena gripped her console as the ship executed a tight turn, bringing its main batteries to bear on an Imperial cruiser that had strayed too close. Status of Chen's broadcast. Signal confirmed across 78% of Imperial territories. Resistance cells report civil unrest beginning on 17 worlds. Imperial communication networks showing signs of breakdown. It was working. While she engaged Dovin's fleet, the rebellion Chen had cultivated for 20 years was igniting across the Empire. The Harbinger took another hit, this one penetrating to lower decks. Damage control systems activated automatically, sealing breaches and extinguishing fires. Hull integrity at 67%. The AI updated. We cannot sustain this level of engagement indefinitely, Captain. Elena knew the ship's limitations. The Harbinger was powerful, but not invincible. She needed to end this, to reach Dovin directly. Plot approach vector to the Dominion, she ordered. All power to forward shields and main drive. Collision course, the AI asked. Boarding action, Elena corrected. I want Dovin. The Harbinger surged forward, cutting through the remaining escort vessels with precision strikes. Imperial captains, recognizing the target of the human ship's advance, moved to intercept, but too late. The Harbinger closed on the Dominion, weapon systems focusing on the larger ship's engines and defensive arrays. 10-point attacks disabled rather than destroyed, leaving the Imperial flagship vulnerable but intact. Prepare docking protocols, Elena commanded, checking her weapon and securing her environment suit. And download yourself to my portable unit. If the Harbinger falls, I want you with me. Understood, Captain. The AI responded, a copy of its core programming transferring to the device at Elena's wrist. The Harbinger locked onto the Dominion's primary airlock, cutting through Imperial defenses with technologies the Empire believed lost with Earth. As Elena prepared to board, emergency communications flooded Imperial channels. Reports from across the Empire of military defections, civilian protests, and open rebellion on frontier worlds. Chen's message had reached its audience. The Empire was fracturing. The boarding was chaotic but brief. Imperial soldiers, trained to fight in organized units against conventional opponents, faltered against Elena's single-minded advance. The AI guided her through the Dominion's corridors, identifying the quickest route to the command deck. When she finally reached the bridge, Dovin stood waiting, alone, his staff having fled or been killed in the fighting. The ancient admiral showed no fear now, only resignation. "You've won nothing," he said as Elena entered, her weapon trained on his center mass. "The Empire will survive this insurrection. It always does." "This isn't about destroying the Empire," Elena replied. "It's about justice. For Earth, for the billions you murdered." Dovin's laugh was hollow. "Justice? There is no justice in the universe, human. Only power and those wise enough to use it. Your species was a threat, not for what you were, but for what you would become. I merely ensured you never reached your potential. You failed," Elena said simply. "Humanity survived. We endured. And now, we've returned." She activated her wrist device, broadcasting their conversation across all Imperial channels. Let the citizens of the Empire hear their great admiral admit his crimes. Dovin realized too late what she had done. His confession echoed across thousands of worlds, millions of displays, billions of implants. The final evidence Chen needed to complete the revolution. "What happens now?" Dovin asked, his arrogance finally cracking to reveal the fear beneath. Elena considered the question. She had come for vengeance, intended to end with Dovin's death and as much damage to the Empire as she could inflict before falling herself. But Chen had shown her another possibility. A future where humanity rose from the ashes, not just to exist, but to thrive. "Now," she said, "you stand trial, before all the species of this galaxy, for genocide." As Imperial security forces loyal to the revolution took Dovin into custody, Elena received a transmission from Chen. "The capital has fallen," he reported. "Imperial command has surrendered to resistance forces. The revolution succeeded beyond our expectations. Too many species had grievances against the Empire. They just needed proof that resistance was possible." "And humanity?" Elena asked. "The truth is spreading. Survivors are emerging from hiding. The colonies are establishing contact with sympathetic worlds." Chen's voice carried something Elena hadn't heard in decades: hope. "We're calling it the Phoenix Protocol. From the ashes of Earth, humanity rises again." Elena looked out through the Dominion's viewport at the stars beyond. The same stars that had witnessed Earth's fall, that had seemed so cold and distant during her years of solitary planning. Now they held new promise. The Harbinger, damaged but still functioning, drifted alongside the Imperial flagship, a symbol of both humanity's past and its unexpected future. "What will you do now, Captain?" Chen asked. Elena considered the question. For 20 years, vengeance had been her only purpose. Now faced with the reality that humanity lived on, that its story wasn't ending but evolving, she found herself at a crossroads. "First," she said, "I want to see these colonies, meet these survivors, understand how we rebuild. And then..." Elena thought of the photograph still tucked beside her console on the Harbinger, her family on an Earth that no longer existed. They couldn't be brought back, but their legacy, humanity's legacy, could continue. "Then we make sure this never happens again," she said, "to any species." As Imperial systems reported the formation of an interim government, one pledging cooperation rather than dominance, Elena returned to the Harbinger. Its eye welcomed her home, damage reports scrolling across displays, repair protocols already initiated. The lone human warship had crossed an empire's border and changed the course of galactic history, not through destruction alone, but by carrying the truth, and with it, the seeds of humanity's resurrection. The stars beckoned, and for the first time in 20 years, Elena's eyes looked toward them not with rage, but with purpose. The ghost of humanity had returned, not to haunt the galaxy, but to help reshape it.